Siguiente en el micrófono, vamos a darle un fuerte aplauso. Let's give a warm welcome to Benato.
Thank you, everybody. So my favorite type of poetry is, My favorite type of poetry is epic poetry, long narratives that tell a story, like the Iliad, the Odyssey, and those things. And I'm writing a short story called Perseus and Medusa, which retells the history of that Greek myth in my own poetic style. And in previous events of at this venue, I've done chapters 1 through 6 of my short story. So now I'm going to do chapter 7. So for some of you, it's going to kind of start in medias res, if you haven't heard the previous sections. But this current chapter we're on is chapter 7, Perseus and the Nymphs. And when we last left our hero, Perseus was en route to the mountain of the giant Atlas. The Grey Sisters told him the way and bid him ask the western nymphs, who live there too, the way to Medusa. We pick up the story as Perseus uses his winged shoes to fly over the Atlantic Ocean, his crystal sword and brazen shield in hand. The sun rose higher day by day as Perseus flew on. The sea enclosed its beams at night and freed them at the dawn. And Perseus went skimming with his shoes upon the tides and used the winds to dry the wings that grew upon their sides. He leapt from wave to wave, and when he hungered or grew tired, he rose up high to look for little islands to retire. One day, on the horizon, he espied a mountain peak, and knew it was the landmass that the sisters bid him seek. For Perseus beheld the giant Atlas on its tip, whose monstrous muscles held the earth and heavens in his grip. Upon the mountain's rocky cliffs the setting sun shone red. A forest lay below it, clouds were wreathed about its head. Then Perseus approached the island, leapt upon its shore, and wandered through its outer valleys toward its lofty core. He saw its flowers, waterfalls, tall trees, and luscious glens, but nothing that might signify a dwelling place of men. At last he heard within the woods the sound of joyous hymns, and guessed that near about him was the garden of the nymphs. Their voices rang like nightingales among the thick-set trees, and Perseus, in silence, closed the distance by degrees. The words they sang so sweetly had no meaning to his ears, nor had they sense to any man for many 100 years. And then, within a clearing, round a tree, he saw them run. The tree bore many golden fruits that glittered in the sun. Entwined about its ancient roots, a mighty dragon lay, old Ladon, who was always there to watch the maidens play. He never sleeps, but listens to the songs they always sing, his dry, bright eyes unblinking as the nymphs go cantering. The hero reached the clearing, but declined to enter in. He didn't fear the dragon, but the lovely girls within. Before them he was bashful, but, as he was now in view, the nymphs were soon to notice him, whereat they halted too. They trembled as they called out, "Son of man, what brings thee here? Art thou the mighty Hercules, who someday shall appear? We know the gods predestined him to rob our magic tree." And Perseus replied, "Ye need not fear, I am not he. I do not seek your golden fruit, but fairest nymphs do say, how I may find Medusa, whom the gods sent me to slay." "Oh no, fair son of man," they answered, "fly not soon to her, but stay and learn our merry songs. Thy doom thou must defer. For in this wholesome garden, winter snows are never seen. The southern winds are warm, the sea is bright with heaven's sheen. Come here, therefore, and play with us, and learn our dances too. 1,000 years we've capered here without a man like you." "I cannot stay," the hero said, "for I have work to do. My task was given by Athena. I must see it through. So tell me, maidens, how to find the secret Gorgon den, or I shall die in searching, and ye shan't see me again." And then they wept, and answered, "Either way we'll be alone, for if thou shalt attack that fiend, she'll freeze thee into stone." He answered, "She who sent me shall assist me in the strife, for whom I rank an honored death above an idle life." And then they sighed again and said, "O son of man, most fair, if thou art so determined, we shall help thee find her lair. But we know not the way, so we must climb the mountain peak. Our uncle Atlas dwells there, and his guidance we shall seek. For Atlas is the brother of the silver evening star, from whom we are descended, and whose eye can see afar. The lofty perch of Atlas lets him ask things of his brother, and so for you the dwelling of Medusa we'll discover. The nymphs then climbed the mountain with a message for their father, with Perseus, who hoped to hear the star, among the daughters. Their uncle, whose unending toil consumed his awesome might, agreed to give their message to the silver star of night. Then, groaning while he bore his load, he raised aloft his eyes, and in his booming voice addressed the twinkle in the skies. And then he fell to listening to words they could not hear, till soon his face beamed down again upon this lower sphere. He gave the answer mildly, "He can see the Gorgon's den, but if this hero flew there now, he would not come again. Medusa's sisters would destroy him if they saw him near. The hat of darkness he must don, to make him disappear." Then Perseus cried, "I shall have that hat, where might it lie?" "No mortal soul can fetch it," said the giant in reply. "It lies within the realm of Hades, keeper of the dead. But these my nieces cannot die, they'll go there in thy stead. But if I bid them do this, promise me what I shall ask." And Perseus said, "Anything that hinders not my task." The giant answered, "If Medusa's head becomes thine own, bring back the blessed horror here, that I may turn to stone. For it is weary work to hold the earth and sky apart. I'll gaze upon the Gorgon's face, and pray it stops my heart." Then Perseus agreed, whereat the giant asked the nymphs which one would go to Hades to retrieve the hat for him. The eldest, known as Scylla, said that she would do this favor, but asked that Perseus might kiss her hand to make her braver. He did, and as she turned away, she flashed at him a smile, then led the group before a gloomy cave upon the isle. And out of it came smoke and ghastly murmurings from hell. Her sisters started weeping, but she bade them all farewell. And Perseus sat waiting with the nymphs for 7 days, who shook with grief, till Scylla came uninjured from the cave. The nymph was pale when she returned, and dazzled by the light, for she was long in darkness deep beyond the shades of night. But Scylla bore in hand the hat for which they waited long, and in a weak and weary voice she sang for them this song. "I journeyed into hell where fearsome monsters live in gloom, whose captive souls are never given freedom from their doom. I entered through the crevice that divides the mortal planes. Above it are the living, and below it Hades reigns. I trembled when I saw before my eyes the stony stair, whose steps descend in darkness to the strongholds of despair. And as I traveled down the shaft and into Hades' depths, the wailing howls of desperate souls resounded on the steps. Then I beheld the river Styx, whose waters glow like souls, whose boatman, as he bears the spirits in, demands his tolls. I entered in the boatman's home, the river's shores nearby, and found the hat upon a branch that rots but cannot die. I took that hat of darkness, and I headed for the door. But there I found the boatman, and he saw the hat I bore. He shrieked that I, a living heart, could have no business there. I put the hat upon me, and I vanished in the air. I ran back through the caverns, over pits and sunken holes, and climbed the stony stairway, and escaped its weeping souls. I scrambled from the crevice that divides the mortal plains. Behold what thou hast sent me for, and soothe me in my pains. That song is called Scylla's Song. The sisters wept anew on seeing Scylla safe once more, and Perseus observed her eyes were dimmer than before. Then, with the girls, he held her hand and kissed her ashen face, and stayed to give her comfort for the space of 20 days. Then Atlas stretched one mighty finger outward from his hand to indicate the way was north again, the shapeless land. The Gorgons and the sisters Grey had each a separate part, and Perseus, whose shoes now knew the way, was keen to start. Then all the nymphs kissed Perseus and wept for him all night, but he, impatient, donned the hat and vanished from their sight. So Perseus completed his adventure's 2nd year. His foe would rise before him now, and he must have no fear. Thank you. The next chapter is called Perseus battles Medusa. And as usual, I will go back over there and re-sign in, and then I can be called up a little bit later in the evening to continue. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Renato. That was really cool. I'm excited to hear the rest of the story.